The Detroit Lions just made a move that no other NFL team dared to make. They completely skipped rookie minicamp while 31 other franchises went ahead as usual. That single decision signals a deeper shift inside the organization under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. After a disappointing 9-8 season that missed the playoffs, the Lions aren't following tradition anymore, they're rewriting it. Holmes has openly admitted they're reevaluating everything from top to bottom, challenging old habits and embracing risk. What looks like a simple offseason choice might actually be the first step in a full identity reset, and it's already raising eyebrows across the league. The Detroit Lions aren't just reacting to a 9-8 season, they're being reshaped by it. Missing the playoffs didn't just sting inside the building, it triggered a full organizational reset under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. What's happening now isn't random, it's calculated disruption. The Lions have started stripping away routine offseason habits. No rookie minicamp, no local pro days, no joint practices scheduled. Even mandatory minicamp has been pushed later than usual. These aren't small adjustments, they signal a franchise actively breaking its own rhythm. And when Holmes skipped league meetings to go back to the drawing board, the message became even clearer: comfort is gone. This is no longer the same feel-good rise narrative. Inside the building, urgency has replaced patience. A 9-8 finish with a stacked roster, multiple All-Pro caliber players, and playoff expectations is no longer acceptable. The standard has shifted from compete to dominate. But the pressure also creates a dangerous edge. When a team starts rewriting its own rules this aggressively, it either accelerates into a contender or exposes cracks that weren't visible before. And the Lions are betting everything on which version of that reality shows up next season. The Detroit Lions are quietly building one of the most aggressive hidden pipelines in the NFL, and it starts with their undrafted free agents. Even after their 9-8 season collapse, Detroit hasn't changed its core belief. Talent isn't just found in the draft, it's uncovered in the margins. Under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, the Lions continue to lean into a high-upside UDFA strategy that has already produced real roster contributors over the past few years. This year's class follows the same blueprint. Luke Altmaier brings developmental quarterback depth behind Jared Goff and Teddy Bridgewater. Melvin Priestley adds versatility on the offensive line with experience at both guard and tackle. But the real gamble comes on defense. Anthony Lucas, a former 5-star edge recruit from USC, arrives with elite athletic traits but unfinished production, exactly the type of tools-first player Detroit loves to mold. Alongside him, Aiden from Notre Dame brings interior toughness and run-stopping potential, while Amarius Brown offers hybrid defensive back flexibility in a system that values positionless defenders. The Lions aren't chasing polished prospects here, they're betting on traits, coaching, and development. And in a league where cap space matters more than ever, these UDFA hits can quietly decide whether Detroit stays competitive or becomes unstoppable. The Detroit Lions are quietly walking a tightrope with their veteran depth strategy, and it could either stabilize the roster or expose hidden weaknesses. After a strong but incomplete 9-8 season, the front office has doubled down on competition rather than certainty. Instead of locking in expensive, proven depth, Detroit is betting on low-cost veteran flyers who have something to prove. Players like Scotty Miller and James Proch aren't headline additions, but they represent a calculated gamble on speed, special teams impact, and roster flexibility. Miller brings field-stretching ability and experience across multiple systems, but nothing about his role is guaranteed. Proch adds another layer as a potential return specialist, a role that could quietly decide close games. These aren't stars, they're puzzle pieces being tested for very specific jobs. What makes this strategy dangerous is the lack of stability behind the starters. The Lions are intentionally leaving WR5, return duties, and depth roles open for competition. That creates urgency in camp, but also uncertainty if injuries hit. There's even growing buzz that Miller's visit wasn't exclusive, with interest from other NFC North teams adding pressure to the situation. In the end, Detroit isn't just building a roster, they're forcing every fringe player to earn their place or disappear entirely. The Detroit Lions' defensive front is entering a quiet but serious transition, and the timing couldn't be more critical after a 9-8 season that fell short of expectations. The biggest issue is simple: depth is disappearing at exactly the wrong time. With Roy Lopez gone and DJ Reader still uncertain in free agency, the interior defensive line suddenly looks thinner than it has in years. And for a defense built on pressure and physicality, that's a problem that can't be ignored. To patch the gaps, Detroit has turned to rotational and veteran-style replacements like Jay Tufel and Joe Baki. Neither is a headline-making addition, but both bring size, experience, and reliability in specific roles. Tufel, in particular, is expected to help stabilize early down run defense, even if he isn't a true anchor nose tackle. The concern isn't just who is leaving, it's what happens if the replacements can't hold up. Detroit's defensive identity depends heavily on winning up front, and any drop-off in interior strength puts extra pressure on the edge rush and linebackers behind it. This isn't a full rebuild, but it is a recalibration under stress. And in the NFC North, even small cracks in the defensive line can turn into game-changing problems fast. The Detroit Lions just made 2 roster decisions that perfectly reveal how differently this front office is thinking after a frustrating 9-8 season, and it's already sparking debate. On one side, they locked in Jahmyr Gibbs by picking up his 5th-year option without hesitation. That move sends a clear message. Gibbs is a centerpiece of the offense moving forward. His explosiveness, versatility, and game-breaking ability make him untouchable in Detroit's long-term plans. But the other decision is where things get complicated. The Lions declined Jack Campbell's 5th-year option. On the surface, that sounds alarming for a player coming off a massive season, 176 tackles, 89 solo stops, and 5 sacks. But internally, it's not necessarily a rejection of Campbell, it's a financial and structural calculation. The linebacker market is distorted. Edge rushers disguised as linebackers are getting paid like elite pass rushers, while traditional off-ball linebackers are valued very differently. Detroit doesn't want to overpay early based on a market mismatch. Instead, they're betting on timing, delaying the big contract while still planning to extend him later. So now the Lions sit in a strange but intentional position. They've fully committed to their offensive engine, while playing a calculated waiting game with a defensive leader who still feels essential to their identity. The Detroit Lions' secondary situation is quietly becoming one of the biggest long-term concerns on the roster, even if it isn't being talked about like a crisis yet. After a strong but incomplete 9-8 season, Detroit still has elite potential at safety, but health is now the defining question. Kirby Joseph is dealing with lingering knee concerns, with some internal fear it could be degenerative in nature. Nothing is confirmed publicly, but the uncertainty alone creates tension around his long-term availability. Then there's Brian Branch, who suffered an Achilles injury that typically carries a long recovery timeline. He is expected to miss significant time and could start the season on the PUP list. That means Detroit may be forced to begin the year without both members of its most dynamic defensive back duo. When both are healthy, the Lions' secondary transforms, aggressive, physical, and turnover-heavy. But without them, the entire defensive structure shifts, putting pressure on younger players and depth options who haven't proven they can hold up in high-stakes NFC North matchups. At the same time, camp battles are already forming across the roster at offensive tackle, edge rusher, and linebacker, meaning the Lions aren't just managing injuries, they're rebuilding trust and depth at multiple levels heading into a make-or-break season.